Demonic Angel. Welcome to my interpretation of the Lover's card of the Major Arcana of the Rider-Waite deck. I only have a few more cards to go out of 78, but I have been doing this for years. And I will get back to some of you through email now that I've been a little bit more regular here. But we're sitting in front of basically so I can look at my notes, and because there was just so much and I just didn't want to be like, oh, I wanted to include that. So that's kind of okay, because I figure we'll do a lover spread. I'm contemplating making my own spread for that, or just maybe playing with some old love spreads and seeing if that just kind of tickles my fancy to present it that way. But that's pretty much what I'm going to do next, and we'll go from there. So the Lovers is this is the Major Arcana. The Angel is Raphael, and basically this means God heals, but it's also, this is a big card of communication from the divine to humans, but it's also vice versa. Humans communicate to the gods, to the heavens, anything that's outside of our consciousness, we're communicating with. And that's pretty obvious, but very appropriate. This card is all about communication, the Lovers. So immediately, that kind of, for me, will lead to that idea of, this is a realistic, in this healthy, upright kind of way, this is a healthy relationship because it's based off of communication. So this isn't, boy, you're very attractive and I'd like to have sex with you. This is, or some people so idealistic that there's just one thing wrong with somebody they date, and it's just, they go, okay, well, you don't match up to my standards, so I can't be with you. And that's unrealistic. Or just thinking like, okay, now we're gonna move in together, and you just inherently understand rules and boundaries and how we're gonna pay the bills, how we're gonna split stuff up, and that's obviously reality. But when we think of love, we fantasize about love. We don't really go, I would love to be married to you, be your partner, your long-term partner. And what I think of in my fantasy is talking about splitting the bills and choosing what to make for dinner, budgeting, child rearing responsibilities. So that's not part of like that initial fantasy, that spark. But obviously once the passion, the honeymoon of that initial, that tension that has been released, it's very healthy that things should become more realistic as you just really grow into this role. So it's just that reminder that if we reverse this energy, then maybe we're looking at a situation that it's just not completely based off of fantasy, because this is just communication gone wrong, blockage. So you're just expecting another person to feel the exact same way as you, and they don't. There's no communication in there. Just here could be this wonderful relationship, marriage, but lack of communication can really end relationships. It's best, obviously, especially in a long-term relationship, to be honest, because otherwise, I think if one or both people are unhappy, that in especially just that set way they're living their life, eventually that's going to manifest, and then that will prompt change. So this is really just about being realistic, but there is that acknowledgement, of course, of the fantasy aspect of this. I'm also looking at, obviously, this reminds us all pretty much, will probably remind you of Adam and Eve, and then we've got like the volcano erupting. So it's erupting. You can see the smoke, the clouds, from that, and that's kind of interesting because it's like the atmosphere is meeting with Raphael the angel, like just kind of that evokes that feeling for me of we're all the earth is communicating as well to the gods. It's all these different kinds of consciousnesses having communication. So I like to think that nature is conscious in some really important way, kind of like an egregore can become if you take on its own consciousness. If enough people feed it that energy, an idea or a thing, which also exists on the astral plane, if it's fed enough energy, it becomes really tangible and it has real effects. So that just is kind of like that manifestation in that kind of way. So we have Adam and Eve. So one of the things I have here is the biggest thing is that we heal. Well, I guess I wouldn't say the biggest thing. A big thing is that we heal in the physical plane. So this is, man and woman here on earth, and Raphael the angel is means God heals, communication. So we're here on earth to heal. And for me, that ties in some Buddhist ideas about existence, the nature of existence, suffering. I definitely am really influenced by Tibetan books of the dead from ancient Egypt, and also in Buddhism, and those kinds of thoughts that when we're not, consciousness that's not on the physical plane cannot really heal, in a long story short, because it's not real, it's not grounded. And so consciousness is always seeking to exist, to manifest, because there really isn't a healing that takes place. There can be, but most healing is done here on earth the hard way. So, because we are here, we have a body, so you feel pain. The consequences of a terrible accident are real. Some people live a long time, some people don't live a long time, but there is this instinct of us that really, really wants to be here because we need to experience life with a body through the senses, so that we can heal from all these other things like past life trauma now. So I think that there is that to me, that soul of man, like if we characterize that personality, it's like always searching to be human, to be searching for healing. So to be human is to never be satisfied. You would never be rich enough one day that you would think, well, I am completely happy. Because happy is like a mood, and eventually you would get so bored and placated with something that you seek something else out, some kind of novelty, whatever that could be, minor or otherwise, because of that it's just we keep needing this journey, and that's what I'll say about that so far. Okay. The serpent and the apple tree, kind of, obviously we have Adam and Eve, they're naked, they're facing each other. I think that Adam is looking at Eve, and Eve is looking up at the angel, and that kind of has this other meaning of the physical, spiritual, and astral or divine interacting with each other, transmuting. So, but obviously the serpent is climbing, coiled around the tree here, and we got the apples, and the apples are the fruit of knowledge, and the snake is in a lot of senses, and even with Christianity, and we look at Luciferianism, things like that. This is the snake is kind of like consciousness. So it's that no matter what morals you want to apply or cultural values, the instinct, even if it is let's turn away from God, it's not like that really. It's that God consciousness, the instinct of the astral is to become real, incarnated, and that is due to instinct, and divinity will follow instinct and become man. So we need to taste the fruit on the tree of knowledge. We need to have our own physical, spiritual gnosis. Each life is very, very important. A big point of this card is how grand life really is, and then we can tie that in through, understanding that through another person with that love relationship. But that's kind of what I really look at it as. I think that the first humanoid probably was a hermaphrodite, and then actual female sex would have been the first on land, because you'd have to have that protection of the sex cells, and that's what a female body does. It protects its the reproductive cells and everything that goes along with that. So then man came next. So man followed woman into existence because women were here first, really, and that kind of comes from biological necessity. That's actually just my thoughts on that. So I don't have any science.com degree for that, but yeah, that's that's like the way that I love to look at the Adam and Eve story. So together they're here in the physical plane, where that's why it's so important. You're going to go out and do follow these rites of passage with somebody, get married, have kids. I mean, of course you don't have to, and it's not a part of your value, but there is that it's in all of our lives in some way that need to manifest fertility, even if it's through creativity, and to want to be with somebody else. Man is a social animal, okay? And another aspect of this is that the man, looking at Eve, and Eve is looking at Raphael, he is staring at her body. But yeah, he's staring at her body. So the man for me is kind of like, it represents humans as an animal, and our pain, pleasure, that we are going to experience through our senses, which is through our body. And then even though woman is very tied to the physical plane too, since woman creates life to reunite with the divine God, because women are where basically, okay, basically a vagina is the gates of consciousness. That's what we come out of course, and so that the waters and that's a waters of a woman. So that inclination is to want to become whole again, like water, and rejoin divinity in that consciousness. So it's kind of like a journey from life and being really tied to the, through our sensual experience, which includes our desires, our arousal, fantasies, any kind of sexuality, but it also then shifts to, of course, maybe as we age and mature, that we're going to be more compassionate, spiritually aware. So that's another way I've looked at that. You really can't know something until you live it. That's another thing that I have here in all my notes, is that, you can talk about something and whether it's concrete or abstract really, but unless you really, experience something through your senses, so like that we want the whole package when we were, divine part of divinity, that we wanted, bad things are going to happen to you, which is a weird way to put it, but when you decide to live, that it's going to be painful and full of pleasure, and you're not really in that control anymore once you enter the physical plane, but that being tied to the senses helps divinity basically evolve, and I mean that's what we are. Behind the guy we've got the 12. There's like 12 flames, and that represents the 12 zodiac signs. So this is time and eternity. That this is, this is that classic love story, but this is also this place and time. This man and woman have to be alive together to be married, procreate, pay all the bills together, make love, fight, all that in between, because that's where that has to happen. So this is also this also refers to woman and man as with the sexual passion, because that really is a big element here. So that chemistry, sexuality is really there, and when it is in a stable long-term relationship, there eventually there's like that procreation that comes in. And I think that deeper looking at that is that we are all an ego, since we're tied to this body and this, and we're to be here. So the ego instinct is ego, and ego wants to exist. So part of that, the way that affects us, is that I think that it does drive our desire to reproduce. So I think that rather than okay, it's so cute that you want to be parents, but it's also a very animalistic thing. It's not really a good or bad thing. It's not like let's apply judgment. It is that just needs to you need to have, you want to pass it through your blood. And I mean, we could go through all kinds of scenarios where people who are related are a lot alike, think a lot alike, have the same habits, even if they've never met each other or had this little interaction. It really is amazing, and nature and nurture all depend on the circumstances. But that I really think that's just, I want to live forever. I could be immortal through procreation, and I think that's just part of being an animal, which is part of, I embrace that philosophy. I think that it's best to nurture animalistic aspects of humans in appropriate ways so that they can be expressed and understood. So that because we are social animals and our drive is to reproduce at some point, driven by instinct, which is also ego, because at the moment there is instinct, there is ego. We to reproduce as a human being, you have to find somebody to mate with, and that requires socialization. So we have to nourish, be loving in some way of ourselves to go out to seek that, because it's kind of, again, part of a drive and an instinct. Humans survived by, especially early man, survived by being in caves together, very packed tightly, and if we would have just split up and all been loners, then humans wouldn't be here, because we can only do that because now we have like technology. But this was people living in groups to stay alive, to share resources, help build shelters, splitting up the basic things of, okay, you work, I'll raise the children, we'll do this, and that community that really is important to an aspect of this. So you have to find somebody that you're compatible with in some way, and obviously if you have a child with somebody, they're probably going to be in your life for the rest of your life, and that's kind of a thing. I think that unfulfilled instincts can lead to problems like especially probably exasperate depression, so that when you deny being social, and you're just like, oh, I don't have to fall in love, but that's not what your instincts as a person are gonna drive you towards naturally. So you fight against instinct, and I think that can really bring out depression, anxiety, less resiliency to stress, and all kinds of things like that. Because no matter what, we're social animals, and we have to channel that, express it in some way. And so this is very good relationship that is based off communication and procreation. Even though we don't have a child in the picture yet, but and I think that a lot of people don't need me to explain like half of the shit I do. I have Asperger's syndrome. So I'm a little bit autistic, and explaining common sense to me really helps me. So, but sometimes I think that might come off as smart. It's like, well, you wouldn't think about such mundane things. But that you need to channel your energy, and find somebody when there is a breakup. That you can move on and still have a chance of finding that. It doesn't ruin you as a person. You can know that you're going to go out and socialize again. Socialize in this card is long-term together and have kids. This is like a rite of passage card as well, like I said, where we're talking about these very set kind of steps in life, which not everybody does, and really does not need to, but that are very important in kind of generalizing, understanding generalized consciousness of rites of passage. You graduate from some kind of school like high school, okay, and then you buy your first car, your first home, you get married, you have a kid, and then older people that will start to die, and these very marked, set rites of passage that are meant for man to go through, and that's going to be part of that. Um, and you know, when this happens, we're not a fool anymore, you know, really becoming ourselves. You're not, your childhood is over now. Even though we've gone through some dark cards, you know, and whatever else in the tarot here. So you're parents now. You're not a child anymore. That is not, that part of your life is over. That's that milestone here in the Lover's card. So you're obviously responsible for, and if you don't have kids, you're responsible for your other partner because you're together making this compassionate commitment and to do whatever, you know, one can when the other is in trouble. And the childlike part of our lives is over. You know, we're not going to be able to go back from that. And so you're responsible. That's the big thing on this. Now you're responsible for somebody besides yourself, whether it's your wife, husband, or your children. Your childhood is over. That generation of torch has been passed. And I think that's kind of, to me, that's why he wears a crown that looks like the seasons. Kind of looks a little bit autumny, fall. Like it's like the seasons of life. And so many cultures think of life changes in terms of seasons. Sometimes even when I kind of will do my psychic sensing and things like that, I'll pick up on a season pretty quickly, and I'm not sure why that is, but it really, you know, it's really interesting. Like that aspect stands out, and it does sometimes have to do with, I think, seasons of life. You know, tons of crematories and mortuaries named after, you know, end of season, you know, end of season, seasonal changes. Okay, so the man and woman, they're about their relationship here. They're open to share their deepest feelings. Really, who we choose to partner up with as a mature lover for life is really somebody who we have to be completely ourselves and open with. So, I mean, when you live with somebody and you're together, there's all kinds of, obviously, the nitty-gritty details of life, and you just, to really make that work is the communication, but also that acceptance of the other person. You know, there's always going to be something about your husband that annoys you, maybe the way you choose, right? But you don't fucking like blow up over it. You're just like, we all do things that are annoying. You know, like maybe we just talk over other people on, you know, because it's just a hyper tendency, whatever. But you know, and your partner will know, boy, you walk in the room, oh, you're sad. You've been together 10 years, and they'll just know that change, like just knowing you so well. And obviously that, I think that does have a lot of, if we want to talk about like evolution, you know, couples being long-term together, well, it's kind of like they know each other and know like if something is off, but also really learn a lot from the other person, such as like new perspectives, you know, new ways to look at things, possibly even build and cook and all this stuff. So it's this exchange of information that really is a relationship, and that openness and accepting. This is the highest, like I said, the highest relationship we can obtain in the physical plane. So I mean, to me, the volcano in the mountains, it kind of has that phallic, you know, passion is erupting from the earth. So man and woman did not create passion, sex, or anything like that. The divine came first, if you want to say, and then the earth, and then man. And so we are erupting with sexual passion because that's, you know, what the earth does. It erupts. It's almost like we can think of, is a volcano mad? Yeah, it's an expression of nature that is, I mean, no, I'm not exactly saying it thinks like a person, but it's, violent, jarring, hot, destructive, and that kind of stuff. But, and the volcano, of course, can just symbolize, like, new changes. But this is kind of like, they're kind of like in the middle of nowhere, Adam and Eve. Now they have nothing because they're not in heaven no more because Eve bit the fruit of knowledge. And the knowledge of living is not easy. So here you are, you're dropped off in the fucking desert, and they got to go over the volcano. And they got a lot of obstacles because being the lovers is very, very hard to be together. Most people break up. But it's that perseverance, the same kinds of goals, I think, and that clear communication that will help you get over the volcano, because it really is a teamwork. And I mean, marriage really is just like marriage, and long-term love like that is really planning stuff out together, and just, here's what I expect from you, here's what you should expect from me, and when things aren't working out, you communicate. I mean, I really am honestly lucky to say that I have experienced the Lover's card. So it's just like learning in a way to about myself through another person, and just also like I said, kind of thinking, well, all the same goals that we talk about, and who's responsible for what. And it really works out for us. So yeah, I've been married for a long time, and that whole package. And I mean, yeah, there's terrible fights, but I think just kind of talking about how it's okay to go in another room, it's okay to be mad, because it's going to happen. You live together, you have all the pressures of these responsibilities, which are a lot, and it's just frustrating sometimes, and we're just emotional people, and that kind of understanding of learning how to really improve your life and be tolerant of somebody else, and that and in a lot of ways my husband really has done so much for me and saved me, and kind of why I'm here today, healthy, doing tarot. Like, I mean, even though he's not an occultist, we have the same goals and dreams, and we're very realistic, and that makes that work, and that open communication. So, but I love it though. Even the fights, the real is like, oh, okay, we got to make a budget. Kids getting sick and being up all night, you get frustrated, but you know what? Every little thing like that is such a beautiful moment that really is, that captures the essence of the lovers. Okay, so it really is that reminder to appreciate your relationship and grow in that way, because it really is special. The mundane is very special, and it should be to you, because otherwise you have an imbalance. So the reverse kinds of on this, we were talking about being too invested in fantasy, not communicating with somebody and just assuming they're going to want to be with you. I think another kind of idea is Greek beauty standards. You've got to have the slim body type, a face in this kind of symmetry, this way, and you need to look a certain way. And you really, because the rich can have better looking skin because they're not working out in the sun and stuff like that. But we're all going to idealize the way they look, so that that's the way you should look, and that creates that whole guilt, and nothing healthy really, comes from that. I think until a person understands that it's not real to want to be that skinny, or to even think, they go, well, I'll have a celebrity's car, I'll be able to buy that same kind of car, but like, they don't have a job, so that's not realistic. And so that's beauty standards. So it's kind of in that way, beauty standards have gotten into our culture, like it's all that's important. Oh, I see her, she's a hottie, and I want to be with her. And that's all you see in a person. So you don't see, it's just sexuality, which is just sexuality is very, very devoid, meaningless, and just kind of chasing your tail would be, going shopping. It's like shopping addiction. Any of those kinds of ideas. It's not a healthy coping mechanism. So, you can't idealize that about yourself or your partner, because that's not, you can't just criticize every little thing somebody does, and you can't expect you to be 40 years old and looking like you're 20, or that your partner should look that way, because it's not realistic. It probably won't work out for you, because it's just vain. And once again, a whole host of miscommunications. It could just be, somebody, trying to bother or get into the relationship. But in this scenario, for me, this card, the couple does not want this. So it's kind of like interference, other kinds of influences, seen or unseen. And I really think this can also be just really like when somebody, after they get in that relationship at first, and they now we're going to sit down and talk about who's going to pay the bills or be home with, whatever, and what you're going to do. People, like, especially women stuff online, they'll be like, you wanted me to, to work? I thought you were going to buy me a brand new car. That's my expectation. And it's just like, that's not, like I said, realistic. You're driven by ideas, so you're not really searching for love. You're searching for materialism for that sake of that, and those other kinds of ideas. So we'll do a lover spread next. I will talk to you guys later.